He got caught on my front right tire. He like slid and he ran into the wall. It was kind of always like a thought like, oh, that'd be really cool, really.
What's the differences in the kart to the bando and what you like about both? What made you want to do racing? Like, more important than racing, right? How do you do in school? What is the end goal for you when it comes to racing? Lessons, what have you learned from racing that you know that you now use every day?
Are you wasting your time and money on inefficiencies in the business? Are sales down and lead conversion rates are low? Are you having problems building or maintaining inventory levels? What does it really take to win in the automotive industry?
Get the cars that make sense for your store rather than just wishing at an auction, so it gives you that better control.
With over 25 years of experience, Darrell Steed isn't just another industry voice. He's the guy who's out there solving real problems for dealers just like you.
They'll even say in the Pacific Northwest where you're at that it's a tougher market. It's, it's tougher to find cars. The market's a little bit softer. And in the midst of all this, your turn doubled and your profit's up 75%.
Yes.
The truth hurts only when it should. Are you ready to hear the truths? Darrell is here to unpack the hard truths and the proven strategies that will take your dealership from struggling to soaring. And he is taking it all in the streets, with real talk, open dialogue, unfiltered conversations. This is the podcast series, Street Smarts, powered by Smartwolf Consulting.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Street Smarts, powered by Smartwolf Consulting. And as we always like to do, a little things different around here is that Street Smarts, it's about the auto industry, car business. And today we are going to get to talk to a very special and driven young lady, no pun intended, from Scott Allen Racing, which is a racing team that I sponsor and partner with. They are heading for very big things. They have some incredible racers, but today we get to meet Amelya Gonzalez. Amelya, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast and tell us what's going great in your life right now.
Honestly, I mean, I guess, I don't know, being able to see like the work being done on my car is really exciting, and seeing like everything that gets to go on with like Scott Allen, and then I don't know, moving forward and kind of everything. I don't know. My family's doing great.
Okay.
Everything.
Great. Now, Amelya, I've had the opportunity to meet you. I've known your family for a long time, but what made you what made you want to do racing? Like, what was you were like, hey, I see it. Your family's involved in it, but what made you really driven towards this is something I want to do? What was the main thing, or what's the main thing that makes you want to do it?
Well, honestly, being around it for so long, it was kind of always like a thought like, oh, that'd be really cool, really fun thing to do. And then obviously my uncle Scott, he has always worked with a race team for as long as I can remember. And he was showing me the legend car, what his first legend car he bought. And my sister was actually going to race. And once he gave me the opportunity to, and I was kind of hesitant on it. And then I started going to a lot more races, starting seeing how the legends were working, started going with him to out in New York and everything else for modified races, made it more like this is something that I think I would severely enjoy. And then as soon as I started, now it's enjoyable. It's not it can get stressful, but it's not a constant stressed out kind of atmosphere, but it is a really fun, really entertaining thing to do.
That's awesome. And now the Legends car, only because I've gotten to see this and it looked full size to me. And then I tried to sit in this thing and it's not full size. It's a very tiny car. But Legends is, and I know that, guys, as we're talking about this, so you understand the preface, is there's multiple different divisions of race cars. You're probably used to seeing F1 or NASCAR. Those are the very upper elite that you see, but then there's all these series up to that, and they have different types of cars, different series. Now, for you, I know the goal is to get to one of those Legends cars, but you've started in the entry in the smaller cars, and now you've worked in your way up into 2 different series. Tell us about, because you smashed that little go-kart around. I'm sure it's called something else, but I call it the go-kart. And then now you have another car, the Bando. Tell us what's the differences in the cart to the Bando and what you like about both of those.
So the cart and the bando, they control like extremely differently. The cart doesn't have much suspension. So when driving it, going around the mini mile, you like hit any bump and you're either spinning out or you're sliding. With the cart, you have to have a lot more, it's like arm strength. Like you have to have a lot of ability to be able to fight against it spinning out or you hitting a bump and starting to swerve. And with the Bandolero, it has the suspension that's needed for that, so you can hit a bump and you'll be fine, but if you hit something too big, it's gonna the same thing's gonna happen. There are similarities in that, but it's a lot I would say the Bandolero can be easier, but because you're racing the full track, a full circle track with the Bandolero, so some parts it can get harder because you have to be able to adjust. And driving both of them is a lot different because when you start in the cart, you're driving around the mini mile and it's not a lot of movement. You're in this small area. And then with the bigger track, the full track with the Bandolero, it's a lot more ground you have to cover. You have to be able to rememorize the line in such a bigger area.
Okay, that's awesome. Now, not that I think it matters, but a lot of people, as we're getting to know you, Amelia, are going to want to know you being in the racing environment. How many people in racing are young ladies like yourself? Is this something where you see a lot of people? Are you kind of like the maverick in this thing? Like, how many people in there are racing around cars doing 70, 80 miles an hour?
Well, I mean, honestly, I think it really depends on what division you're in. For the carts, in the senior outlaw, there aren't very many of us. I think there's 4 of us in our whole division, and there's like 26 total cars. And then with the bandoleros, I think there might be even less. The last race I went to, there was me and 2 other girls, and there was, I think, like 15 cars. I think something like that. It's not a very common thing to see.
Now, because when I heard about this, I mean, I was very intrigued, but I know there's the baby outlaws, the junior outlaws, the senior outlaws. Senior outlaws, just so people get a kind of a picture of what we're talking about, what is that age range in the senior outlaws, the division you're in?
The senior outlaws start at 15 and it goes up to honestly any age, but I think what's written is 99.
Okay, so I mean, it's young teenagers all the way up to old people like myself are racing in the same division. So one might say this is a very skewed division of like experience.
Yeah.
For you jumping into that because you jumped into it right when you could. How's that been for you climbing up like and having to compete with people that are either older, been doing it for longer? Like, what does that do for you? It's like, does that drive you? Does it feel great that you're in the mix with those? Like, how do you interpret that for yourself?
At first, it started off as it got to be very difficult because of the amount of people in the division and everybody having like that upper step of experience with it, and me being a brand new driver having to be in the senior outlaw division. But once it got like a few races in, it was something to keep you going. Like you were constantly trying to see like, oh, he's been racing for this long. Let's see if I can get that high. Let's see if I can match him. Or like he's near my age, but he started in junior division, which I didn't. But let's see, because he's my age, maybe I can match how he drives. It's that kind of like trying to be able to either meet or beat everybody because of my lesser experience with that wide division.
No, it's great. You got a chip on your shoulder. You're like, I'm here to stay. Like they've got to compete with me. I'm not competing with them. That's fantastic. Now, Amelia, what is like the goal? Like, you've chosen racing and you enjoy it and you love it. And but what's the goal, right? You're in the kart in the bando this season. You're going to be doing both. So what's the end goal? Is it legends? Is it above legends? Is it you want to get to like stock car or modified car? Like what is the end goal for you when it comes to racing?
My end goal as of right now, I think would be probably a modified. I've That's the main races, like, I've been to so many of them. Like, I've been in the infield, I've been with the pit crew, I've been in so many modified races, and that was, like, watching it for the first time when I was younger, I think it was one of the first cars where I was like, "I wish I could try that," kinda thing. So, I think my end goal would probably be a modified.
Now, for all the viewers that'll be watching this, okay, like, yes, racing probably takes up a lot of time, right? To get good at it, to dedicate towards it, race days. But more important than racing, right? And I know you won't want to hear this, only old people say stuff like this, is school. How do you do in school? I mean, like, because at the end of the day, racing is, it's a hobby, it can turn into a career, but you've got to make sure that you obviously do the first things first. How's school going for you? Is that something you excel in? Is it something that, like, that still interests you? Like, how's that going for you in life?
I'm actually doing pretty well in school. I've never had any schooling issues. I've always been pretty good of a student. I think honestly, even with the race season, I've never really fallen behind. It wasn't really something that impacted the way I functioned at school. I was always able to keep everything in line and where it's supposed to be, keep everything up to how I normally am.
Okay. Well, the reason I bring that up is, and you guys, if you ever get to meet Amelia at a race or you ever get to see her online, she's being extremely, how would you say it, or shy or candid. Amelia, like when you say you're just, oh, I'm just, I kind of keep up with school. It's fine. I've always been a good student. Can you tell everybody, like, your GPA or the classes you're taking right now so that we can all understand when you say you're just this good student that you're just really leveling down right now? What's your GPA in the classes you're taking?
I don't know my exact GPA right now because my midterm exams start this week. So our GPAs are all reset for the next semester. But right now I am taking pre-calculus. I'm taking honor Spanish 4. I play an instrument. I'm in orchestra. I'm taking astronomy, English, regular classes. I'm in advanced culinary. Um,
Just a regular run of the mill, just honors schedule and and racing and keeping up with school. So just light work for the rest of us. Okay. And no, the reason I wanted to highlight that is that was one of the very impressive things that I thought, getting to meet you and being part of it, like helping you get to where you want to be is, yeah, I mean, you're not just taking everyday classes, you're excelling in school, you've got that priority. And you may not know this, but as you get older, as you experience more of life, is to keep all that stuff compartmentalized and focused and being able to keep that in track. Like that's not something that a lot of people are really good at. So it's a really great quality to have as a young lady and coming into your own. Now, what's something you've learned in racing? Now, mind you, in the go-karts, what do you go, like about 40, 50 miles an hour, bandos faster than that?
yes.
What have you learned in racing, whether it be driving things or life lessons? What have you learned from racing that that you now use every day? Like just something that like it just taught you to get better.
Well, honestly, for driving wise, I have learned to have a lot of a quicker reaction because of my age. I have started driving and I have my permit. So being able to differentiate from being on the racetrack and being on a real road, it gives you a lot of like reaction time. Like if something's going on a real road, I have the experience to be able to react in a way to get me out of that situation if it's needed. And as well as like in a real life situation, it's just there's something you can trying harder is gonna get you somewhere further. Even if you're not beating the people around you or doing better than the people around you, you can always improve in yourself, even if it's not something super crazy like graduating early or something of that instance. There's always
Yep.
you can always get further with what you're doing.
Yep, putting in more effort is always going to test those boundaries, which is, again, I mean, you're learning things that I wish I could teach half the people that I instruct, because they have a hard time with that. Um, Now, when you're looking at, okay, hey, you're racing the vehicle and you're doing this. I mean, I'm glad to hear that you don't drive your regular car or the car that your parents let you use, like a race car. Maybe that comes next year, and you're just starting to zoom all over the place. But when it comes to like, what you've got going on in life and everything else, and racing, we'll say is a hobby, maybe it turns into a career for you. What is your like goal in life? Like what do you want to be, get done with high school, whether you're going to college or not? Like what do you want to be? What is your end goal for your career? Like what does really interest you?
I actually want to go to school for culinary. Um, I was thinking of honestly, I first thought of being a private chef. That was something that really I was like, that was something I wanted to do. But then I got into racing and I thought more about it, and being a private chef would not it would overlap too much with the racing schedule because
Sure.
it's private chef is an everyday job. Even on holidays, everything else, it's an everyday job. But I still definitely want to do something in the culinary field. I just haven't picked that exact career yet.
So knowing that you like to do culinary, when we talk about culinary or cooking, baking, whatever it is, where does your passions lie? Is it more to the baking side or more to the cooking side?
I'm 100% more into the cooking side.
More to the cooking side. Okay. So if you're cooking, right, what's the dish? What's the dish that you're gonna cook that everyone's gonna be like, holy cow? They're absolutely floored when you're done cooking it.
Ooh. Um, wow. Oh, fresh fresh pasta, like pasta from scratch
Okay.
with a olive vodka sauce and chicken. That
So you're gonna
was
make you're gonna make fresh pasta. Like you're gonna roll this out, you're gonna do all the things with the like what do you call it? The sheet puller and all that stuff, and then make your own pasta.
yeah. I have before I made it for a party for my cheer team a few years ago.
Okay.
But yeah,
So that, I mean, listen, fresh pasta. That's you can tell you definitely are precise and you work on that because pasta is one of those. It's hard enough just to make the pasta to more or less get it to where it's like not too big, too small, whatever it may be.
yeah.
Um, Now with the racing team and everything else, do you have any big goals this year? Like, what's the goal for this year? In both, because I know you're doing two different divisions. You're doing the karts and bando. What's the main goal that you want to come out with it? Whether it be win a race, get better at a line, whatever it is, because obviously goals don't have to be just result oriented. They could just be getting better. So what's your goal for both those divisions, the cart and the bando?
I think with my cart, I I want to be able to hold I have a I have a pretty good line, but I want to be able to hold the line because I have a bad habit of getting a good line and then losing it when practice ends or losing it after my heat. And then my feature, it's like kind of thrown off or my heat's thrown off because I lost it after practice. In my bandolero, honestly, to keep up and stay within like not getting absolute dead last. I mean, it is my first full season in the bandolero. I've only had about 3 races in it. But I think with the Bandolero, definitely be to at least keep up, stay within it, not absolute dead last. If it is, then it is, as long as I'm keeping up. And then honestly, overall, to at least win 1 race, whether it's in Bandoleros or my cart.
Now, you've driven both of these, a couple races in bandos, quite a few races in carts. Have you ever had the unfortunate accident of getting into a wreck, a crash? If you have, tell us what that was like. Like, was it scary? Was it freaking out? I can only imagine spinning around or getting in a crash in a race car. So you tell us what you've experienced.
Well, I have. Unfortunately, I have. I had a very small one with my cart. Um, I was bumped into from the well, what would be the top. It was my left side. No, it was my right side, and he got caught on my front right tire, and my tire went over his side bumper because on the carts we have bumpers on all sides. So it went over his side bumper, got under his body panel, and popped my tire. And we got he slid and he ran into the wall. We got disconnected. I had to get pulled off the track. That one wasn't too bad. Really the only damage was my tire. I had to replace my tire and I think an axle and we were fine. But in my Bandolero, I was in a much bigger wreck. The people I actually bought my car from a week prior, I raced with their daughter. That's one of the only other girls in our division. Um, she hit me from the inside, spun. I was sliding up. She spun. She hit me again, and we both went into the wall. My car was totaled. My body, the back right side of my body was hanging off at one point, but the pit crew, mine and two of the other racers' families helped fix my car, and I was actually back on the track in 2 hours, and I made it for my feature.
And were you okay? Everything okay with you? No crazy injuries, anything like that?
For my cart, I was perfectly fine, didn't hurt at all, and then my Bandolero, I was fine. I just had a huge bruise on the side of my leg, but other than that, I was perfectly fine.
Okay. And like even after having a couple of mishaps and nothing like catastrophic or anything like that, are you still just as excited about racing as you were when you first got in?
Yes, 100%.
100%. Okay. I mean, listen. If I get in a wreck like that, I don't think I'm getting back in a car. But that's just me. Listen. I'm getting a little bit older. Life's starting to like twinkle. So, but that's good that you've had a couple of mishaps and no discouragement. You're still just as confident going out there because that is part of racing. Like things are going to happen. I do find it I ironic that the person that you got the car from is the person that put you in the wall. Like, hey, by the way, I know you bought my car, but here's a little
Yeah.
rub right into the wall. So I think that's great though that you want to just continuously get better, right? And I know I've told you that before. It's like it's just about getting better, right? If you win, that's fantastic. Who doesn't want to? But if you're getting progressively better, especially since you're younger to the sport in the sense of like experience, is the better you get, then the more confidence like you said, taking lines, figuring that out is going to be fantastic. And now this is your in high school. You're a junior this year, correct?
Yes.
So you have 2 more years, and then it's on to whatever version of culinary experience that you're going to go get, whether it's school or you go private chef, which I think is exciting. I mean, who doesn't like to cook? That is just like, I mean, it's one of those relaxing and rewarding type of things.
Yeah.
Now with your family, now do you have a big support in racing? Does a lot of people support you? Or is this kind of like a solo mission? Tell us a little bit about you and your family and kind of like where that falls in your life.
Well, my sisters 100%, they're very into it. My sister, technically closest sister, she loves going to the racetrack. She thinks it's so much fun to watch. My oldest sister, she likes the racetrack. She doesn't like how long it takes, which I mean, it's valid. It takes a long time. They're long days. But my sisters definitely like it. My dad is all for it. He's a photographer, so it's many chances to get different types of pictures, try different settings with his camera. My mom, she's very into it. She's very excited for it. I know it starts to freak her out having to see getting into a bigger, faster car, knowing that there's always that possibility of getting in a wreck, and then her watching my Bandolero wreck freaked her out, but she's never tried to get me out of the car or stop me from racing. She's always been very, very supportive in keeping me in it and seeing she's always kept it as it's my decision, and if I don't wanna race anymore, then she'll stop it in a heartbeat, and if it's that I wanna go further, she's she was very open to me getting the Bandolero, very open to me being able to try something new. When I started racing my Bandolero, gets me to training, is always like very like, if you want to do it, we can do it, and if you don't want to do it, then say and we won't do it. But from all sides of my family, I have a very large support system.
That's fantastic because I think that's really a key to, being able to do something. Not saying you can't, right? But when you have that support system, it does make it very much a like kind of less of that stress and a lot easier when you have someone and a group of people behind you that is making sure that happens. Now, Amelia, let's ask some interesting questions so that we can get to know you, right? We've now got to talk to you about a racer, kind of talk to you about what your future looks like. What's something interesting that like people should know about you? What makes you kind of unique or different than the just everyday person? Like,
Well, I mean, I play the cello, which is extremely random, but I've been doing it for ooh, 3 years, 4 years, something like that.
okay, okay, that's
Um,
definitely unique. Um, let's just give a plug out there because we know that we were trying to get you another sponsor. What's your favorite energy drink? I'm just curious. Okay.
Honestly, Celsius, no matter how much people are gonna try to tell me it's bad for you, whatever, whatever. I Celsius, it's always been Celsius. Every race, every Monday night race at the carts, I've always had a house Celsius with me at all
Yeah, I don't
times.
I don't know if I've seen a picture of you without a Celsius can with you at all times, which is fantastic. Now, some exciting things, like what outside of racing, right? You've got school, right? And you do music, which is great. You love cooking, you do racing. What is another hobby or something that you like to do that maybe not a lot of people know? Like outside of just your everyday stuff you do, what's something that you really like? Like if you said like, oh, I like knitting, or if I like, something that's kind of no one would really know about you.
Um, Honestly, reading and writing. Also very random. I try to read a lot more than I do. I used to read a lot very, very often. Um, I recently actually just finished a book. I was starting a new one. And then I'm also writing a book at the same time. So reading and writing is a very random hobby not many people know that I do.
Okay, and if you were gonna pick, like, what's the genre? Is this like, vampire fan fiction? Is it murder mysteries? Is it like romance novels? Where do you like, or is it an eclectic version of a lot of different things? What is like your go-to genre for reading?
Well, I have two, which differ extremely. I read a lot of murder mystery kind of thriller type of books, and then I also read a very equal amount, sort of equal amount of romance books. So they're extremely different, but those have always been the two genres I would always pick from.
So we're over here in like David Baldassi, and then we're over here in Danielle Steele. We don't know which one we like to do. Okay. I mean, but I think that's good, right? Like you've got two different things that interest you. No one's just in one area. Um, but I think that's great, right? For a couple different reasons. I mean, being as young as you are and enjoying reading, that is, I would say, very unique. Of like hearing that that's something you enjoy doing, not that we're forced to do it. Like when you're in high school or college, you're like, oh, I got to read this book. You're like,
Yeah.
actually, no, I like to read. Um, and so, okay, so you play a cello, you're reading. Don't think that we didn't just hear you say you're writing a book. So just on top of all the other things you're doing, just this little humble brag of like, yeah, I'm also writing a book, just like on my spare time because I have so much of that just sitting around. Is this like a work in motion? Is this something like just a project you kind of are picking at from time to time? But like, yeah, and then what is the preface? Like, what are you writing a book about?
It's a little bit of both. I started it at I think June of 2 years ago, I'm pretty sure. So June of 22, 23, something like that. And then I was using an iPad for it for a while. And then I had to restart. My iPad wasn't working. I had to restart it and it wiped everything on my iPad. So I lost the whole book. It wasn't the whole book. I was about 6 chapters in, but I lost all of my progress. So recently, my sister got a new computer. I got her old one. So I signed in on it and I started it again about, I want to say a week ago. Almost, it's getting close to 2 weeks. I think this Wednesday will be 2 weeks ago. Um, but I want to be able to make it a real book. if that's possible, or like an online book, an ebook. Or, I mean, I had talked to my mom about it when I had first started it, and she said that if it was something I wanted to do, she would work with me. We would look and get time in a library to be able to get it looked at and get it published. But as of right now, I am still picking at it because of the fact that I had so much, and I'm trying to kind of remember what it was that I wrote. But my book is about um, the life with and like how it was growing up with my sister, Jaylene, and then my experience when she had passed, everything that had happened that day, everything of that sort, and then now our life after, and like what our new normal has to be and what it's like. And then I'm gonna have a section with the people that were closest to her are gonna I'm having them write little sections for them to have their own area in the book. So like her best friend, my sisters, our brother, my mom is gonna do one, and then I think her best friend's mom is also gonna do one.
Oh, that's fantastic. So it's kind of like one of those spiritual but yet motivational books of overcoming adversity, which I don't know if we could ever have too much of that, because that helps a lot of people in a lot of different ways, especially when you deal with situations in life. Well, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure, Jaylene. I wanted to do this because we're going to do this for the team to get to know you, because I think a lot of people see people and they like, oh, they're racing the car or whatever it may be. But there's more to a racer than just them racing the car and things of that nature. And just spending a few minutes with you here today kind of lets everybody kind of get a sneak peek into just how hard you work and how diverse you are in the sense of school and interests, and just kind of how driven you are to succeed. And, I think that's a very unique and magical attribute for especially younger generations today, to be like, hey, I'm this focused, I want this. And like you said, if you don't put in the effort, you don't know how much you can actually do. It's like that you're putting in that effort. Like, and yeah, you might be busy and you don't have any time in the day because you're just like, I gotta go, go, go. But now you're getting to see just how much you're capable of by putting this type of we'll say pressure, but just expectations on yourself, right? Of what you can do. So, I mean, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been great. Now, I do have a couple things I wanted to ask you about to wrap things up. First, did you by chance see the new outfit that you're going to get this year? Your fire suit. Is that what they call it? Fire suit?
It is a fire suit, and I have not seen it yet.
Oh, then we don't want to ruin the surprise, but I can assure you that it is one good looking suit. Okay.
Oh, I'm
Second,
so excited.
second, I heard that you have got a new sponsor for your racing team. Tell us a little bit how that came to be, because that was kind of a unique sponsorship that came to like that happened. So tell us who it is and then how that came to be, because that's exciting news for you to get a sponsor, especially in the area that sponsored you, because it's kind of not it's not a standard sponsorship coming into racing.
So our new sponsor or partnership is with KOR Mindful Beauty. Um, honestly, honestly, it was more so of a Scott thing. He had he had the connection and the openings to be able to get the sponsorship. They talked about it and they reached out. They have sent me products. I have a few of their products. I love their products. Um, they're kind of a smaller company. They're not very known, but they're partnering with me to be able to try and get the name more out there, make it more known, and make it something that's tried by more people, more different or many more different like areas of people,
Sure.
different age groups, stuff like that.
No, I think it's great. When I heard about it, I was like, really interesting. A beauty line or a makeup line or like a healthcare line. What I thought was interesting about that is embracing that, like, um, being graceful and embracing the like beauty and everything else at the same time. You like having grit, right? You have that grit. You're in the car. It's dirty. Like I see you working on cars. Is you can do both, right? That there's not this misconception of like, oh, if you're a racer, that you don't care about this side of it. So I think it's great to be able to bridge that and show that, hey, you know what? On race days, yeah, I'm in it, but on other days, listen, it's glam and glitz for me, and just do that. So I think that's really fantastic. And I wanted to just give a shout out because I think you're kind of one of those fire starters in the sense of you have this driven attitude and you have this like essentially can do attitude of like you're not going to let anyone run you over, or not, you're going to make it work. You're going to get it done. And the fact that you are a very limited in being a female in this racing sport is getting that, notoriety of like, hey, you know what? I'm just like anybody else. I'm in this. I can do it. And, and having that ambiance and now getting to take a peek again behind the curtain of just getting to know you and seeing that you're just like an everyday person, right? Like there's no oh my gosh or anything like that. Like you're just this everyday person that's really incredible because you're achieving a lot of different things. So I want to tell you, keep it up. I am proud to be able to sponsor and help you guys out with what you're doing. I won't ruin the surprise of what your suit's going to look like because, man, I was floored when I saw it. But I hope you nothing but success in this season. I anticipate I will probably be seeing a couple of those live. And for all of you guys, if you have not got an opportunity, take a look at Scott Allen Racing. You can follow Amelia. All the posts will be up to follow these guys. And we'll be giving shots out to the sponsors. But this is the direct reflection of like how you can, take what we do in the automotive business and give back and then helping dreams come true. But more importantly, look at everyday lives that, of people doing things and being part of that greatness. And then just recognizing people who are actually putting that focus in and doing things the right way. So I want to thank you for coming on and letting us have the opportunity to get to know you, Amelia, and then just stay with me for just 1 second as we wrap things up.
Yeah.